Hermes was the god of messengers, travelers, merchants, basically anything that involved moving fast. In the bustling world of Greek mythology, he was the one you'd call if you needed something done yesterday. Whether it was delivering a message across impossible distances, guiding lost souls to the underworld, or helping merchants strike a deal, Hermes was always on the move. He was the original multitasker, juggling a dozen responsibilities at once, never missing a beat. His energy was legendary, and his reputation for speed and cleverness made him the go-to god for any urgent task. His winged sandals were the ancient world's sports car, and he zipped between Olympus, the mortal world, and the underworld in a golden blur. No mountain was too high, no river too wide, and no storm too fierce to slow him down. With every step he seemed to defy gravity, leaving only a shimmering trail in his wake. The gods would often marvel at how he could be in two places at once, appearing out of nowhere with a sly grin and a witty remark. Mortals, meanwhile, could only dream of moving with such effortless speed. He delivered messages for Zeus, guided souls, and kept the divine world connected. If there was a secret to be shared or a warning to be given, Hermes was the one trusted to carry it. He was the link between gods and mortals, the bridge between the living and the dead. His duties were as varied as they were vital. Sometimes he was a diplomat, other times a trickster, and always a master communicator. The gods relied on him to keep Olympus running smoothly, and he never let them down. Hermes was always in motion, rarely still, the living embodiment of a caffeine buzz. He thrived on the thrill of the chase, the rush of a new mission, and the excitement of outsmarting anyone who tried to slow him down. Even when he paused, it was only for a split second, just long enough to catch his breath before dashing off again. His restless spirit made him the most dynamic figure on Mount Olympus, and his boundless enthusiasm was contagious. The other gods knew if you saw a streak in the sky, it was Hermes on another urgent errand. They'd watch in awe as he darted from one end of the heavens to the other, always a step ahead of everyone else. Some envied his speed, others admired his dedication, but all agreed that Olympus would fall into chaos without him. He was the pulse of the divine world, the spark that kept everything moving. A day without a dozen things to do was unheard of for him. His hands were always full, scrolls to deliver, deals to broker, souls to guide. Yet he never seemed overwhelmed. Instead, he thrived on the chaos, finding joy in the constant motion and the endless variety of his tasks. For Hermes, busyness wasn't a burden, it was a way of life. But little did he know, a slow, lazy afternoon was about to catch him by surprise. For a god who lived for speed, the idea of slowing down was almost unthinkable. Yet sometimes even the fastest messenger in the universe has to pause, and when he does, the world feels like it's standing still. On Olympus, Hermes finished a tricky underworld delivery and was starving. He made a beeline for the dining hall where ambrosia, olives, golden apples, and nectar awaited. He piled his plate high and ate with the same speed he used for his messenger duties. Fast and relentless. Plate after plate disappeared, and soon he was stuffed, a small mountain of olive pits beside him. The fullness was overwhelming, a rare feeling for the god of speed. He leaned back, sighing in contentment, limbs heavy and slow. For once, he wasn't thinking about his next errand. The hunger was gone, replaced by a pleasant, immobilizing drowsiness. As Hermes basked in his post-lunch glow, the golden sunlight warmed his skin, and a gentle breeze rustled the olive trees overhead. The world seemed to pause, suspended in a perfect, drowsy afternoon. He stretched out on the soft grass, feeling utterly at peace, his mind drifting lazily as he replayed the flavors of the feast he'd just enjoyed. The sweet tang of ambrosia still lingered on his tongue, and the rich, honeyed nectar of the gods filled his belly with a pleasant heaviness. For a moment he allowed himself to simply exist, savoring the rare luxury of stillness, but as he lay there, a syrupy lethargy crept over him, slow and irresistible. It was as if the very air had thickened, wrapping him in a warm, invisible blanket that pressed him gently towards sleep. His thoughts, once quick and nimble, began to slow, meandering like a lazy river in the heat of summer. Even his fingers, usually so deft and restless, now lay limp at his side, barely twitching as he fought the urge to drift off completely. His usual energy faded, his eyelids drooped, and the world dulled. The vibrant colors of the garden around him seemed to blur at the edges, as if he were peering through a veil of dreams. Each blink lasted a little longer than the last, and the sounds of laughter and birdsong faded into a distant hum. He tried to stand, but his limbs felt like marble, heavy, unyielding and impossibly slow to respond. It was as though gravity itself had doubled, pinning him to the earth with invisible hands. The god of speed, grounded by a food coma, unthinkable. For someone who could outrun the wind and leap across mountains, this sudden sluggishness was both foreign and humiliating. He slumped back down, dazed and defeated, wondering how even a divine meal could have such a powerful effect. His famous winged sandals, usually a blur of motion, now lay abandoned in the grass, as if mocking his current state. He blinked, struggling to remember his next task, but his mind was foggy. The list of errands and messages he needed to deliver seemed to dissolve, replaced by a thick, impenetrable mist. He pressed a hand to his forehead, trying to summon clarity, but the harder he tried, the more elusive his thoughts became. A massive yawn escaped, and nearby nymphs giggled. Their laughter was light and musical, but Hermes could only manage a sheepish grin, too tired to offer a witty retort. He wondered if they'd ever seen a god so thoroughly undone by a meal. He knew he had something important to do, but the details were lost in a haze. The urgency that usually propelled him forward was gone, replaced by a gentle, nagging sense that he was forgetting something crucial. He stared off into the distance, willing his memory to return, but all he found was the soft glow of the afternoon sun. With effort he pushed himself upright, wobbling on his feet. Each movement felt monumental, as if he were climbing a mountain rather than simply standing. The world tilted slightly and he steadied himself, determined not to let the food coma win. He had to get moving, whatever his mission was. Somewhere, someone was waiting for a message, a sign, or a trick. He couldn't let them down, not even on a day like this. But his brain and body were both stuck in slow motion. Each step was a battle, each thought a struggle, as if the very essence of ambrosia was determined to keep him grounded just a little longer. Yet, even in this haze, the spark of Hermes' determination flickered. He would not be defeated by a nap, no matter how divine. Hermes forced himself into the air, but his winged sandals sputtered like an old engine. He drifted through Olympus, less a messenger, more a lost balloon. Apollo called out, teasing his slow pace, but Hermes could barely wave back. He was supposed to be on a mission but couldn't remember what or where. He passed Aphrodite, nearly flying into her blown kiss, and hovered uncertainly. Anxiety pricked. What if Zeus was counting on him? He tried to retrace his steps. Dining hall, underworld, a meeting with Zeus. The memory was just out of reach, slipping away every time he grasped for it. Hermes was officially lost, directionless and forgetful. When a god forgets something important, there's only one place to go: Athena's library. Hermes adjusted his course, feeling like a student facing a strict teacher. The library was a marvel of order, scrolls stacked to the ceiling, busts of philosophers watching. He landed, straightened his chiton, and tried to look alert. Inside, Athena sat at a table, absorbed in her work. Hermes cleared his throat, hoping he wasn't interrupting a world-altering plan. He needed her wisdom, or at least a clue to jog his memory. Maybe Athena could help him remember his forgotten mission. Athena looked up from her desk, her eyes sharp, but not unkind. The kind of gaze that could both pierce through riddles and offer comfort to those who sought her wisdom. The marble columns of her sanctuary glowed in the afternoon light, casting long shadows across the intricate mosaics on the floor. Athena, goddess of wisdom and strategy, was not one to be easily distracted. Unless, of course, the distraction was a puzzle worthy of her intellect. "Hermes, you're moving slow. Too much lunch?" she teased, her lips curling into a sly smile as she glanced at her clay tablet, its surface etched with a grid of numbers. The puzzle before her was a new obsession, a gift from the mortal world that had quickly become her favorite pastime. She tapped the stylus against the tablet, waiting for Hermes to respond. Hermes, messenger of the gods, and usually quick-witted, looked sheepish. He shifted his weight from foot to foot, his winged sandals barely making a sound on the polished stone. I may have forgotten what I was supposed to do after meeting with Zeus," he admitted, scratching the back of his head. The memory of his task seemed to have slipped away, lost somewhere between the clouds and the corridors of Olympus. Athena raised a single, elegant eyebrow, her expression a mix of skepticism and amusement. "A fuzzy memory? That's not like you, Hermes. Did you fly through a dream cloud on your way here, or did you simply let your mind wander off with the wind?" Her tone was teasing, but there was a glint of genuine curiosity in her eyes. She watched him for a moment, then her knowing smile widened. Athena was quick to deduce the truth. Hermes had likely indulged a bit too much at the midday feast. "Let me guess, she said. "You're suffering from a classic case of food coma. Even the swiftest messenger can be slowed by a hearty meal." "I wasn't in the throne room, so I don't know your mission," she said, her attention already drifting back to the puzzle in front of her. The numbers called to her, each empty square a challenge waiting to be conquered. She traced a finger along the grid, her mind whirring with possibilities and patterns. "I'm busy with this new mortal game, Sudoku. It's wonderfully logical, a true test of patience and intellect," she mused aloud, almost forgetting Hermes was still standing there. "It's fascinating how mortals invent such clever diversions. Each puzzle is a battlefield of logic, and I intend to win every war." Hermes, realizing that Athena's mind was now far from his predicament, sighed. He looked around the sanctuary, hoping for a hint or a clue, but found none. The goddess was lost in her numbers, her focus unbreakable. For the first time in a long while, the messenger of the gods felt truly on his own. Athena's sanctuary was silent except for the soft scratching of her stylus on clay. She was utterly absorbed, her mind dancing through possibilities, untroubled by Hermes's plight. The world outside could wait. For now, the only thing that mattered was the puzzle before her. The wisdom department, usually a beacon of guidance for gods and mortals alike, had no answers for Hermes today. The grand desk, littered with scrolls and tablets, stood as a silent testament to Athena's devotion to her new hobby. The air was thick with the scent of parchment and the quiet hum of concentration. With a heavy heart and a mind still clouded by forgetfulness, Hermes turned and left the sanctuary. His shoulders slumped, he walked away from the temple, feeling more foolish than ever. As the doors closed behind him, Athena remained undisturbed, her mind sharp and her spirit content, lost in the sanctuary of numbers. Defeated, Hermes trudged outside, desperate for a clue. He remembered his magical satchel, maybe it held a reminder. He rummaged through snacks, trinkets, and oddities, ambrosia chips, a rubber chicken, a souvenir from a prank. Nothing useful, until a small folded parchment appeared. Heart-pounding, he unfolded it, hoping for Zeus's instructions. This had to be the key to his forgotten mission. He braced himself for a grand revelation. The answer was in his hands. The parchment was in his own handwriting. It wasn't a command or a map, just 4 words. "Don't forget the figs." Hermes stared, baffled. All this panic? For figs? He tried to recall who wanted them. Maya? Hera? It didn't matter. The great mystery was solved. His urgent task was a grocery run. Relief and laughter bubbled up. The absurdity was too much. The god of speed, undone by a shopping list. He tucked the note away, the pressure gone. If figs were his biggest worry, the world could wait. Suddenly, a lazy afternoon didn't seem so bad. With his mind at ease, Hermes welcomed his drowsiness. The figs could wait, so could the world. He spotted a fluffy cloud perfect for a nap, and floated over. Settling in, he gazed at the peaceful world below. The sun warmed his face, a gentle breeze rustled his hair. He closed his eyes, letting go of all urgency. For once, he was content to do nothing at all. Maybe sometimes even the god of go, go, go needs to slow down. The messages and errands would still be there tomorrow. For now, Hermes drifted off, dreaming of absolutely nothing, and loving it.